Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to come on today with Shoshi, our special guest, and she's going to share and is willing to share her vulnerable story of how she healed herself and how she's now free from PTSD, anxiety, depression, bipolar, and even insomnia that was crippling. So, thank you, Shoshi, so much for coming on and being willing to be an inspiration for people, to be their hope, kind of that guiding light that this is possible to become symptom free when you address the real root causes, and to just share your story with us. I know we're going to get so much out of it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I've been looking forward to this for so long. So I think, would you just mind sharing, maybe a little bit about yourself and like where you started? A lot of people here are at their rock bottom. They have chronic illness, chronic pain, PTSD, other trauma issues, and they've tried a lot of things and it still hasn't worked and they are hopeless, kind of like where you started. So would you
Yeah,
just share your starting point, so people know, you're a regular human just like us, and
sure.
you also were at that rock bottom place.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the question is how far back I should go. Like
Back as you want, yeah.
when I found you, when I found you and your program, I was kind of at my rock bottom, struggling with severe insomnia, depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar, I guess you could say, although that was more like in my earlier years, like in my 20s, but it was definitely still an issue. Um, so I'll just go back a little bit and I'll tell you that when I was when I was 9 years old, I went through a traumatic car crash that my father was killed instantly. I was in it, and it was a big life event that kind of changed my life in a lot of ways, my family dynamics and everything. And although I grew up, thank God everyone else was okay and fine, but we kind of grew up in the shadow of that trauma, and it was never addressed. Not anyone's fault, but that's just kind of what happened. It was just like, okay, life, we're just going to move on. And so when I was in my teens, I started struggling with like depression and kind of the bipolar type symptoms, um, depression, anxiety, and then I at a young age I started psychiatric medication. This was this was the turn of the century where it was just like, yeah, let's put people on Prozac because that's just what we're doing. So yeah, that was kind of where I found myself, was taking these drugs and hoping that they would help me. And that didn't go so well. I took them for, I guess you would say, about 18 years. And I never found that they helped me, but I just kind of stayed on them because that's what, I was on them, and I was always hoping that maybe they'd be the answer. Like, because we take antibiotics and we take, diabetics take insulin. So like, oh, maybe I have chemical imbalance. I don't know. And it was kind of silly because I knew that I had a trauma as a child. So I'm like, why am I taking these? I know that I have unresolved trauma. So it was just kind of always in the back of my mind, like, I know that this doesn't really make sense, but I'm just going to keep taking it. I got married at a young age, had children, I have 4 kids, thank God. And I would say at about age 34, like 4 years, close to 4 years, 3.5, 4 years ago, I sort of had a midlife existential crisis. Like, I don't want to be taking these drugs forever. Like, I didn't feel like they were really helping me. And I just knew that I needed something different. Like, something had to change. My kids were growing up, and I just felt like I don't know. I was just like, I don't want to feel this way for the rest of my life. And I don't want to be on this, like, I had tried like almost every medication out there. Like, you name it, I had tried it, you know, from the bipolar ones to the antipsychotics. I mean, I was put on so many different things, Ritalin, like seriously. And I was like, it just wasn't feeling right anymore. So I came across some information about, you know, trying to like the wellness stuff, changing your diet, that kind of stuff. And I had never done that kind of thing before. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I removed some like things from my diet. I don't know if I should get into that, but you know, if you want to.
Like gluten, dairy, sugar,
Gluten,
yeah, all
dairy,
the
sugar.
big offenders.
Yes. Those are the big three that really I took out. At different points, I took out other things, you know, but those were the big three: gluten, dairy, sugar. And the truth is that I actually had some really positive like results from it. Like I was like, oh my God, I really felt different. Like, and I was like, there's something to this, like, you know, health stuff or whatever it was. I don't even know what it is, but I was like, there's something to this. So, um, so after that, I said to myself, wait, I am feeling so much better. So why don't I go off of all these drugs? Like to me, it was kind of like just made sense. Like, I don't need these anymore. Like kind of, you know, like when you get better from like, you know, having strep throat. So you just go off of your antibiotics. So I was, the crazy thing though is that I was on there for 18 years. So my whole body, my whole existence was so surrounded by, like by them, but I had thought that I didn't need them. So I went off them very quickly. Don't do that. Don't try that at home. But yeah, I was just like, it was nuts. I went off of 3 drugs in 6 weeks, and after a couple months, I started crashing, almost like a computer program, like a computer shutting down. And I was like, what's going on here? Like I was still gluten, dairy, and sugar free. And I literally felt like everything was falling apart. Like I just started, and I didn't get it because I was like, why isn't the diet helping me? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then I literally tried so many things, so many like different programs and supplements. Um, oh my gosh, I became really involved in the wellness world. Like I started learning about, you know, all these natural things because I realized that like mainstream medicine wasn't really doing it for me. But then, so then I was like, so I need to find the right alternative help, you know?
Yep.
So I researched everything. I learned about every possible diet. I even studied integrative nutrition myself. Like I went into that world in order to try to get better. I was like, something's whatever. And the crazy thing is that things just only got worse. Like they just got progressively worse. And I was like, why? Like, and I was, the depression came back. Like it was so thick and so black. I can't even like put it into words when it returned. Yeah. Anxiety over the roof. And then insomnia started 2 years ago. I started having severe insomnia and like PTSD type symptoms, like anxiety and sleep, and it just really, really difficult.
Well, just to
Yeah.
thank you for sharing, you know, as you share, it reminds me parts of our journey. But when you first came, it really was like being deathly afraid to sleep, like
Yeah.
literally, like I'm afraid
Yeah.
to die if I sleep. And
Yeah.
you hadn't slept. I don't know how long it had been. I think you said 2 years by the time we started working together. I was like, well, when's the last time you got a good night's sleep? Years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. It was like a year. It was like a year and a half approximately. Yeah. It was torture. It was such torture. Living this way. And I didn't want to go back to the psych meds. I did have to return to some of them on like lower doses. at a certain point because I literally had no idea what to do. I was like, my diet's not working anymore. Like supplements that I had, you know, been taking, most of them researched on my own, and I wasn't like really a professional. So like just nothing was working. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go back on, low doses of the psych meds, and they kind of held me in place, but I knew that they were just covering everything up again. So, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted. Um, and then again, I would just, it was a really difficult time period. It's painful thinking back to it. That's how hard it was, and I like, it's important to talk about it. But it was just,
Yeah.
it was so hard. My marriage was like falling apart because of it. My children were like, thank God, I feel like our community held us and our friends and our family, but my children were struggling tremendous. Like it was really, really hard. So when I found Reclaim Yourself Now and I found you and your program, that's really where I was. I remember you asking in one of your posts, like, what symptom are you struggling with? And I wrote, like, I mean, even though I had more than just insomnia, but like I wrote insomnia, and you said, so what else? So what are you experiencing? I said, I'm just not sleeping. Like it was just so intense. So yeah, that's kind of what brought me to you.
So much for sharing. I know it's vulnerable too, because this isn't the stuff we like to broadcast or advertise
Oh
out
yeah,
there. It's
I
like
don't go
not a
posting on
badge of
Facebook
honor.
about my
Yeah, so
yeah,
thank
although
you.
I am pretty open about it. I try to be, to a certain extent, but I don't talk about so much that time period as much, because it was like so raw, like
Yeah.
so raw. And I even had to leave home for a couple months, and I have 4 children. Like it's not, I'm a mom. Like that doesn't happen. Like we don't just leave home for 3 months, unless we were, God forbid, very sick. So that was the situation. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and I know a lot of people in our group are struggling just like you, and they're in the depths of despair, and it's like they've almost given up hope. Like there's no glimmer of hope. So to hear your story and how serious it really was should be a beacon of hope to people. And there's a couple things before we hear where you're at now, fast forward to today. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about that you mentioned. One, we see that people who try to go off their meds consistently, they have that crash after a few months, regardless of if they do it
Yeah.
slow, if they do it fast, because
Mm-hmm.
basically, the side effects of the meds, they shut down certain body processes. And so
Yep.
we actually go the opposite, where we teach you how to address the root cause and repair all the damage from the meds and from the root causes festering in your body. Then you don't have that crash when you wean off meds, and that can be a really tricky thing. So even though
Oh
you went
yeah.
off quickly, I mean, sure, it's not just you. Everyone we see that tries to do something natural or holistic or get off the meds, they end up in this crash. And
Yeah.
that's what most people we see are like, nope, I tried to wean, I can't, and then they go back on the meds, and then they never work, is that you don't ever get symptom free. And so,
Yeah.
just to normalize for people that there's a real reason why you can't just wean off meds. You will crash
Yeah.
unless if you address the root causes. And
Right.
the second thing you talked about is, when you discover, I've shared this too in my own journey of healing. It's like when you get that, when the light turns on, that conventional medicine isn't the end all be all, it's really not working. I call it the rabbit hole now. Like I go down the rabbit hole of holistic and alternatives, and it's kind of exciting for a minute because you're learning all this stuff you never learned. And where that ended me was on a restricted diet, having an air
Yeah.
purifier, water purifier, a thing for everything, non-toxic products. Like there just was no end to it. And it was
Right.
almost like there was shame if you weren't natural enough. Like it's
or
a whole
organic or
yeah, organic. Well, how organic are you? Well, how
right.
expensive is that? How
Oh my
many
gosh.
supplements do you take? You know, and then all the MLM world comes in on you. So
Yeah.
the rabbit hole, I just want to bring out too that what you experience with that is no different than the conventional world, and that you still end up having symptoms. And some of the
Yeah.
things you said that was really important, and these are the benchmarks that we look for to know if you guys are healthy or not, or if there's still a root cause festering, is do your symptoms return? Do you have flare ups? Do you develop new conditions that you've never had before? That means there's unaddressed root causes festering in your body, and that's going to keep happening over time. And did the band-aids stop working? So one of the things you said is like, my diet worked so great, it gave my body a lot of relief, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but then it stopped working. So if you do stuff and it makes you feel better and then it stops working, that's just a sign you haven't gotten to the root cause. So those are some important points just to help us know, okay, we haven't even touched where we need to go yet. So
Right.
fast forward to today's Shoshi, and then we can kind of fill in the missing pieces. But where are you today with your symptoms and your marriage and your sleep and
Yeah.
your children and your life?
Oh my gosh, thank God. It's almost like night and day. But I mean, I'm still in a journey and a process, and every day it's like a little bit, more healing and more um it's not like I've arrived. I always used to think you arrive somewhere. It's like, no, it's a process of healing. And well, today my insomnia is so much better. Again, it's still my main, like, if I'll have a flare up, like that will be it'll be insomnia, but it's like almost, it's so different. It's like just here and there. It's like if I'm very stressed out, depression, anxiety are like also much, much lower, like almost, I can't say gone because like, again, those are my tendency is to sometimes go there because, I'm being realistic, but it's so much better. It's like I'll catch myself in places and I see that there's actually something for me to do. I used to feel like I'm just sick and this is a mental illness. And I literally thought I had like mental illness. It's crazy, and I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 at some point, about 8 years ago. Like from doctors, they actually diagnosed me. I do not have bipolar symptoms. Things were getting expressed in that way, from highs and lows because of the way I was trying to experience my life and my symptoms and all that. But it's just so I'm in a much, much better place. I'm healing. I'm getting stronger every day. Again, my sleep is like resolving and also improving. I'm so grateful because depression was like it was even though insomnia the past couple of years were so big, but like depression is something I've really struggled with for, I would say, over 2 decades. And I feel like I'm finally becoming free of it, which is incredible, and I'm freeing myself of it. That's the beautiful thing, that I'm like realizing I'm not a victim to this, to moods and to getting into like to going into those really dark places, which I can very easily use to go into, and if I don't catch myself again, I could still go there. But
You and I want
yeah.
to catch what you can keep going, but there was something really important. You said you're not a victim to your symptoms. If they come back up, there's something for you to do. And in my mind, my symptoms are my greatest teachers. You know what I mean? There's always a real root cause, and it's a process. It's because life still keeps going. I can't tell you, well, you've experienced new traumas since we've worked together. I've experienced new traumas since we've worked together.
Oh my gosh.
Life just happens. So I wonder if you can share kind of either your process or just what you've learned about your symptoms being your teachers, and that there is something to do, and then they do go away, the symptoms do go away, and that you're gaining that ability, that power. I kind of say it's like a light switch. It's not, but it's like a choice.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing about that?
Yeah, sure. You've taught us that with our symptoms that we can always, there's always what to look at, and that's the work is catching yourself when you're triggered, and finding the root cause. And that's what your program, did, was giving us those tools, and which is it's such a relief, and it's also so empowering because there is a root cause. It's like, no, it's not, things don't just happen randomly. Like everything happens for a reason. Every symptom, whether it's mental or physical or emotional, it has a root cause. And your program, I found, addressed all three, which is incredible. Like you don't really find that anywhere, So yeah, so that was just also mind blowing, just having that angle, the fact that I had all three levels. And I mean, you might ask me soon, but you said you wanted to know why I joined the program. So
yeah,
I'll just throw that in now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
because you really knew what you're talking about from a medical perspective, like in a professional sense, and also from the emotional therapeutic, aspect, the trauma, like knowing about trauma, it was so comprehensive. Like I had never seen of such a thing before in my life. So that's what really drew me in.
Awesome. And I can relate from my own journey. I tried so many things, and dozens of doctors, therapists, counselors, coaches, the personal development, everything from A to Z. And it was like, none of it's getting to it. And so I appreciate you saying that. That's also what has me teach this, and what has me walk through my own healing journey of recovering from chronic illness, autoimmunity, and trauma, was like, I had to bring it all together for myself to heal.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. And I was gonna, one other thing back about you were saying I was even diagnosed. And so we actually have a class here called Real Labels versus Fake Labels, right? Like, is the condition you have real or is it just describing a set of symptoms? And so a way that I like to tell people, is you won't qualify for the diagnosis when you get to the root cause and your symptoms go away, because it's just a label. And it's the same with like your lab tests, like even real labels, like let's say a condition of MS, your immune system is destroying a part of your nervous system. Well, when that process reverses or goes away and your lab tests are normal, you still don't qualify for the diagnosis. So we take labels very, we take them seriously, in that we know we have to do something serious in order to get you well. And leaving it festering is not going to bode well for you for the rest of your life. But we take them lightly, meaning that they're not a life sentence. And so I love how you brought that out, and I'll post that course below if people want to watch it. But if you don't have any of the symptoms at all, you don't qualify for that diagnosis anymore. And that's just really, really amazing. So you also then went, I don't think I mentioned it before, but you went on to do one of the advanced programs, the marriage course. Same thing, get to the root cause. And your marriage magically improves. I didn't know if you wanted to share anything about that. Just what is your marriage like now? What is your family life like now? Is there any other parts of your life now that you have your symptoms under control?
Absolutely. I mean, everything as I've been healing over time, my marriage is kind of mirroring that back to me, and so are my kids. And it's so much better. It's incredible. We're also healing, as a couple, and we're also growing. The marriage course helped us realize that we're each kind of just doing our own work ourselves. I'm doing my work myself, and then my marriage just improves. So thank God. I'm so thankful. Yeah, we're like on the bandwagon.
Wow.
Things are great. They're improving. It's the journey, it's the process, and it's a beautiful process. And my husband is so grateful for you guys.
That's so awesome. We
Was
love him.
like, yeah, he really helped me also jump into this. He's like, do it. Like he knew that this was like going to be a really helpful thing. He just sensed it. And so even though we've had some really hard times, um, thank God we're not there anymore. So we're
Wow.
much better place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep, I love that. It's like every part of your life. I try to tell people this, and I feel like it doesn't always sink in until you're on this side of it. Like, oh, yeah, every part of my life improves. Being healthy makes every part of your life, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, everything changes. And what's cool is now you're actually getting off some band-aids and you can eat gluten and sugar and
Oh my
dairy
God.
for
Yes.
the first time in years and
It's
not have
unbelievable.
reactions. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's one of the most exciting things, honestly. I mean, obviously not having depression and insomnia is exciting, but like just being able to eat like my family, like my friends, like just eat food again and not feel like that's gonna kill me. Like I was off of gluten and dairy for 3.5 years. I wouldn't touch it because I reacted to it. I don't have celiac disease, but I reacted to those foods. Like my body would. The interesting thing is that what were my reactions? They were increased insomnia,
Yeah.
increased depression, increased anxiety, constipation is also a biggie for me. Yeah. So I would actually react to those foods. So it makes sense that I would stay away from them. I was like, I'm not touching bread if it's going to keep me up all night.
Yeah.
And and nobody understood that. They're like, why would bread keep you up? Like, and I was like, I don't know. That's just what happens.
Gluten.
Yeah, I know, like the devil, right? Well, it was scary for me because that's kind of what I saw. Now, in doing all this work, this program and the marriage program and healing, I've been able to reintroduce those foods. And magically, not magically, it's not magic. I can handle them. And so I'm like I'm still like wrapping my head around it. I pretty much gotten back to everything. I like eat cereal and milk and ice cream, crackers. Like I literally thought I would not be eating these foods for the rest of my life. Bread and butter, like, yeah, it's incredible. It's really amazing. I'm so thankful. I loved eating. I loved also the wellness food. I loved making, all those vegetable dishes and smoothies and all that. But I also love, this food. So it's really great to have a variety, to have all the different things, to be able to enjoy life and go out to eat and not feel like I'm not gonna sleep all night if I accidentally eat the soy sauce from the whatever.
No, I hear you. I was probably a decade on like AIP, restricted diet. At my worst, I think I could have 5 foods. And it was revolutionary for me to think, why stop there? That's not a root cause. That's a symptom. That's just another symptom. I don't want a Band-Aid symptom. So I know what you mean. I enjoy all sorts of foods. I enjoy healthy foods. I enjoy not healthy foods, and my attachment around it's gone. It's like, sure, I can eat whatever, the healthy ice cream or the regular ice cream. I say the real ice cream.
Right.
So is there anything that you want people to know about this process, what's possible for them? Just if you could go back and speak to yourself at your worst or your most hopeless, or being really in your symptoms and not even knowing, is it possible to actually be symptom free? What do you want to tell people?
Well, you mean in relation to your program or to anything?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's so much hope. I have been in some really hopeless places. I forgot to mention, I've also been suicidal. Like, this goes on. I was in a really difficult place, and um, I it was terrifying at times. It was scary. So I want anybody to know, anybody out there who's suffering from PTSD, which is a label, I mean, they're all labels, but trauma, but trauma is real, and it does affect us. And um, and I want them to know that there is so much hope and there is so much to do. Just don't give up hope. Don't think that you're that case that's not gonna have, that's not gonna heal. And the truth is, I thought I was like, I when I signed up for your program, I didn't know that much about it. I was just like, it sounded amazing. You knew what you were talking about. Like, you were one of the first people who I spoke to who understood the wellness world and also understood psychiatric medications. You know, a lot most people did not. Like, I had done so much research into psych drugs after I went off of them that I knew I could almost become like a psychiatrist. Not that I would ever want to be one, but it was crazy how much I had taught myself. And then finding someone who knew that and who said, you're right, like what you're saying makes sense. Everything you went through makes sense. Going off the drugs and having that crazy reaction, shutting down, 6 to 8 weeks later, and everything just made sense. And then you told me, but then you were like, there's still hope. And I was like, what? Like, really? What is there to do? I've done everything. Like, I thought I did everything. So, and then I love that what you gave me, what you taught me, and what you opened me up to was the fact that essentially it's the inner work and in resolving the beliefs and the trauma. And where am I going with this?
I don't know, but whatever I'm in love with what you're saying. I can relate.
Gosh.
Yes, that there's hope, and
There's so much hope.
I thought I was
there really is
that was different because I had tried everything and everyone looked at me weird. Like, I don't know why you're so sick. So yeah, everybody's just the same human. We all got the same stuff.
And I would say to people to also just like really trust you, because, and that's kind of what I did, because I was at my rock bottom. So I was like, I mean, I wouldn't have signed up for it if I didn't think it wasn't for me, but I was just kind of like, and it took me like 6 weeks to really get into it because I was still so stuck and just, oh God, I was so stuck. So I would say to trust you, look into it, like you're offering, a breakthrough call. So like, why not, like see if the program can help. You have nothing to lose. And yeah, again, like addressing anybody who's going through depression and anxiety every symptom is painful and every illness is painful, and there's so, you can't tell one person, oh yeah, this is worse than cancer or I don't know, diabetes. I don't know. So everything is painful. At the same time, I feel like depression, anxiety are probably, because they're quote unquote mental illness, they're experienced on a very emotional level, like they're torture, and they can keep us back from literally from living the life we want. If I have, God forbid, if someone has, cancer or whatever, like you could still do certain things, but the mental illness it just keeps you frozen, like totally frozen and so stuck. And it's really like, it's a really painful place to be. And I would just tell everyone, like, there is so much hope. There is so much to do. And if you're in this group and if you're hearing this interview, reach out, because there is so much that can be done.
Thank you, Shoshi. It's so true. I feel the prison of my mind is worse than any physical prison from my experience. So being set free from that almost makes everything else open up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. And for
You're
those
welcome.
of you, like Shoshi said, Shoshi started with a free breakthrough call, and we dove in deep to her symptoms and her issues and her history and everything that she tried. And we talked about what worked and what hadn't worked for her, and the root causes that were missing. And she dove in, and here she is on the other side, being empowered, where if a symptom does pop up or a flare up does pop up, it teaches her even more to like become even more healthy and more solid in living a symptom free life. And that's what we're here to teach you. So I will post in the description of the video above a link to schedule a breakthrough call with me. That'll take you through the calendar and then a short 1-page application form. You do want to make sure that if you schedule, all decision makers are there with you on the call. So if you have a partner or spouse, we require them to be there too, because this is such life-changing, sensitive stuff that we've got to work through. We've got to make sure everybody's there and we're all on the same page. And then I might have some homework for you before we dive in on the call. So be prepared for that. And really, we're just going to get clear on what is the next steps for you. If that's us, great. We'll walk you through and custom build that program around your particular issues. If you don't need us and you need something else, we're going to be very upfront about that and help you and support you in getting resources that will make a difference for you if that's not a good fit for us. So really, that's it. I'm so grateful for your story, Shoshi, and I know you've shared a lot in the group, just articles and things and encouragement. So I would say, if there's any of you that have been on the fence, you're inspired about what you're hearing here, but it's like, can this even be real? I would just say, if you want what Shoshi's got, you got to take the steps. You got to take the actions. And it's the same with me. I've been there with being bedridden and being allergic to everything and being in anxiety, depression, and post-trauma symptoms. And that's gone for me too. So there really is hope, and that's what we're here to do. My heart's full.
And it's so worth it.
Worth
I just
it.
want to add,
Yeah.
yes, it's all worth it. Everything, yep.
Thanks, Shoshi. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
And
You're so welcome.
hope to come back on later and continue teaching you guys. But I think this is a good place to end.
Okay, bye.